Hi guys, so this video will be your SA4 prompt video. Please watch the whole thing. We're going to cover quite a bit. There's two options for this prompt, so we're going to cover both options in the prompt, and depending on which one you choose, we'll go over both options for the outline, and then there's sample essays for both options, a library video, works cited, and then your assignments. So stick with me to the end, and I promise I will answer all of your questions. Alright. So I have the SA4 prompt right here, so we can go ahead and get started. So your research outline is going to be due Sunday, December 10th, and then your final draft of your essay is going to be due Saturday. Please note Saturday, December 16th. Okay. Okay, and so as advertised, you're going to have two options for this final paper, two options, okay? So choose one of the following projects. Option 1, traditional research paper. Okay, if you choose this option, you will write a formal, traditional 8 to 12 page argumentative research paper about education. You must use at least 3 of our unit's readings and at least 5 sources found on the Saddleback College Library website, for a minimum of 8 total sources. Your paper must also include at least 1 counter-argument and with a rebuttal, and you will choose one of the following research questions. So before we get into the questions, let me talk a little bit about this here. So if you recall, in our 10.8 folder, there's an argumentation lecture. I want you to return to that module, and about halfway through, I start talking about counter-arguments and rebuttals. So be sure to watch that part again, take some good notes, so you're 100% clear on what a counter-argument and rebuttal is. You do need to include that in your paper. The counter-argument needs to have a source for the traditional option number 1, okay? So that's a little bit on the counter-argument. You need to have at least 5 sources found on the Saddleback College website, and I have that right here for you, the library research demo. So that will tell you how to use the Saddleback College Library website. And then at least 3 of our units readings, you can find the list of our readings at the bottom of our prompt right here, the in-class text. So you need to choose at least 3 of those. Okay, so you do have everything you need here. Okay, so the optional questions for option 1, what is the purpose of a college education? Why should everyone have equal access to education? What do students gain or lose from getting a college education? Does it matter what a student gets their degree in? What degrees are the most useful to the country's success? What is the value of a humanities degree? Is the prioritization of STEM fields in the U.S. legitimate? Or you can create your own. Just email me for approval by Sunday, December 3rd, so that will give you a full week to complete your outline, which is due on the 10th. So you're welcome to create your own question. But essentially for option 1, you are going to choose one of these questions or create your own and answer that question in a sustained argumentative research paper. So this is very similar to what we've been doing for papers 2 and 3, just now I'm asking you to add in 5 additional outside sources. Okay, so all of your sources will support what you are saying. And then in your counter-argument, you also need to provide evidence. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you provide evidence and then you shoot it down in the rebuttal. Okay, so that is the option number 1. I do want to show you the materials that go along with that. So notice here that there are 2 outlines in your 1119 module. The final essay project outline 1, that is the traditional option for the prompt. Okay, so what you will need to do is download this document by clicking the link here. Download the document and open it up on your computer. And then you are simply going to fill this in. Okay, now this looks very similar to what we've been doing for essays 2 and 3. Just notice now you have the counter-argument here. So you actually need to provide me with your thesis in a complete statement. Same thing with your topic sentences. I don't want phrases or questions for your thesis or your topic sentences. They need to be complete argumentative statements. Also provide your evidence. Don't just leave this blank, okay? You actually need to provide your quotes for the outline. This ensures that I can give you the best feedback possible before you submit your final draft. So your outline should be very thorough, okay? However, it does not need to be your complete essay, all right? But it does need to be thorough so that I can provide you with the best feedback, all right? So this is option 1 outline, and then there are also on the modules page I have provided some simple essays right here for option 1. Notice in this list here, it says sample 1 SB, sample 2 SB, 3 SB, and then dialogue. If you choose option 1, which is the traditional research paper, the first 3 here are the samples for you. Okay, SB just means Saddleback. Okay, so essay 4 sample 1, essay 4 sample 2, essay 4 sample 3, those are all option 1. So you can open them and kind of see what these students have written about. So when you scroll through, you can kind of see this person's writing on the purpose of education, the betterment of self, to be dedicated to learning and to aspire to higher levels of intellect and understanding. And then this is a in-class article that this person chose. So every body paragraph is working to support that thesis. Malala was in class as well. In-class Wallace here used that a few times in that paragraph. This is an outside source. Okay, so you can kind of read through and see what this person did. And then, of course, at the very end, they have their work cited. Okay, so that's option 1. This person wrote on the purpose of education. We can look at option 2, sample 2. I don't want to get you confused. Sample 2. This is talking more about the humanities. Are still valuable for students since they focus on refining skills through higher education that can benefit society as a whole via politics and economics. Okay, so that was a different topic. And then sample 3. What is the true meaning of a college education in the modern world? And then they go on to answer that. Okay, so this is more of the meaning of a college education. All right, so there's 3 good samples there for you for option number 1. So now we're going to switch over to option number 2. Okay, the rest of this video will now be on option number 2. So let's go back to our prompt. Here we go. So as you notice here, option 2 will be a dialogue essay, and it's worth 20 extra credit points just for attempting it. Okay, so you already get 20 points just for deciding option 2. Okay, so there's really no risk, right? I would attempt this if I were you. You know, go for it. This is a really fun option. Students have come up with some really creative stuff. So if you choose option 2, you will use a variety of sources to show a spectrum of perspectives on our education topic. It will take the form of an 8 to 12 page debate, which will look somewhat like a screenplay. The challenge will be to offer coherent arguments by characters who represent not just different points of view, but also different styles of argumentation arising from their varied backgrounds, educational background, cultural and ethnic differences, and personal experience. The intro will consist of a description of your characters, their positions on the given issue, and background information needed to help your intelligent, naive reader to understand your topic. Most of the explanation can be included in the context of the discussion. Assume your audience is educated but isn't necessarily knowledgeable about the subject. Also assume that they are very sensitive to bias. They shouldn't see yours, even if you personally have strong feelings about it. You can choose the setting, but it is usually helpful to think in terms of a venue that encourages high-level discourse. Feel free to be as creative as you would like, as long as you think PBS-level discussion, not Jerry Springer. The more you can envision the personalities of your characters, the better your choice of rhetorical strategies can be. The context of this debate should encourage the most intelligent arguments possible. Your characters will be fictional, but can be based on actual people. While they should be representational of certain groups and belief systems, they must not be stereotypes. They should be people whom you would be willing to listen to, even if you vehemently disagreed with their particular point of view. If the person has an unpopular viewpoint, you might want to contrast it with an especially appealing personality or intriguing life situation. Each should bring something unique to the discussion. You will write as though they are speaking to each other, and your sources will be part of that speech. Each quote or paraphrase must be documented in the MLA style to avoid plagiarism. It can be difficult to distance yourself from your own words. Some people feel very awkward making a strong argument for something they do not believe. But this is an excellent way to train yourself to think critically and be able to articulate others' points of view honestly and fairly. The debate itself will be in script form with speakers asking and answering questions. Characters will address one another's points and then go on to bring up new arguments. Make sure that the debate is not just a series of monologues, but is a real conversation. Normally there will be 3 to 5 speakers per page. More than that means you might be lacking in your use of sources, and fewer would sound more like speeches than debate. Speakers will quote or paraphrase their sources as though they are stating their own ideas. Your minimum of 8, at least 3 readings from our unit, and at least 5 sources found on the Saddleback College Library website. Need to include academic journals, transcripts, oral interviews, online discussion, news sources, books, and others. The personality of the individual character will dictate which kind of source he or she might use. Again, each side should be so persuasive that the reader won't know your bias. In the conclusion, you can enlighten your audience as to your true beliefs. Talk about why you believe what you do and how your views might have changed as you did your research and formulated your arguments. Students may create a context which inspires them and which encourages strong argumentation. There is often a tendency to demonize those with whom the writer personally disagrees, even though most students claim to be tolerant of others' beliefs. This assignment will help students practice how to be able to articulate other sides, a step toward respecting those who hold the opinions. Okay, so in a nutshell here, you are creating different characters, okay, with fictitious names. You're going to make up their names, their backgrounds, if they're married, if they have kids, women, men, how old they are, whatever you want. You are making up your characters. They're completely fictional. They're not the names of our authors in our unit, okay? Now you're going to use our unit's readings and your scholarly sources as you have your characters debate, okay? The characters are going to use the sources. And then in your conclusion, you can tell us what you really think. The same topics apply for option 2, okay? The same options that were in number 1. And if you want to create your own option, just email me by Sunday, December 3rd. This is a list of our in-class texts. You'll just need to choose at least 3 of them, okay? So now on Canvas, we can go back here. Option 2, outline, is right here. So you can click on it. Again, you download it and fill it in. This one is going to look quite different for every student because the setup, you guys are going to choose your own setup, but I did provide you kind of like a starter outline, if you will. If this opens, we can take a look at it. Here we go. So in your intro, you need to describe your characters and their positions and give background information. And then the body is going to be a debate. So maybe character 1 brings up the first point and has evidence. Character 2 will respond with some evidence. And maybe character 3 or 4 will respond if they want to, or you can bring up a second point, right? But they are talking to each other. And then in your conclusion, you are going to talk about your personal beliefs about this topic. So let me show you what this looks like in a sample essay here. We have a couple samples on here. So remember again, if you choose option 2, your sample essays are right here and they have the word dialogue in them. If you choose option 1, they do not have dialogue in them. Okay, so just be sure you're looking at the right ones. So here's the first dialogue sample. And I just kind of want to show you the structure of what these students came up with. Okay, so this one's on the purpose of an education. This person actually has subtitles, which is fine. So he's describing who these people are. Right? Scott Butler, Emily McBride, middle-class family, Seattle, Washington, studied English at a liberal arts university, right? And what she believes, right? Same thing Roman believes. He's an African-American, lower-class family in Long Beach, California, right? So now she has the setting. They are meeting at a conference, okay? So that's what she chose for her setting. And it's about the purpose of an education. Okay, and then she starts her debate. And notice that every person is bolded so you can see who's talking. And they are simply using the sources in their points, right? They're simply using them to further what they're trying to say, right? And then it goes throughout the whole paper. They're talking to each other. So notice this person here, Madhu was the last person to speak, so then Emily says, Madhu, I do not agree with your statement, right? It sounds like these people are talking to each other. So she goes on throughout the whole debate to do this. Debate, debate, debate. And then if we get to the end of it, here we go. Now she has her conclusion. Personally, I believe that all majors contribute to democracy in our country, etc., etc., etc. So this was her conclusion about her beliefs. And then afterwards she has her work cited. Okay, so that's one way to set it up. Let's look at the second sample here. See if this one will open. Okay, and now this is just red because it was submitted as a PDF, so this is the only way I could block out the student's name. But please don't do that to your own name on your paper. So 3 views on college degrees, okay? So he starts right away. Carson Frost, 65-year-old male living in Rhode Island. Raven Benson, 31-year-old living in LA. Motivational speaker, right? You can make up whatever characters you want. Okay, and then this person has a television host for Education TV. So there's going to be Todd Green, who's going to be moderating this debate. Okay, she describes where this debate is located. Scene begins. Notice the stage directions. That's really helpful. She decided to capitalize her names. That's fine with me. So Todd Green is the host, and then the other characters are all going to be having the debate, right? And she's talking a lot about STEM fields, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And then, so she goes on and on. Outside source here, outside source, outside source, outside source, right? You get the idea. They debate, 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 again, debate. And then here she ends her scene, and then she has her conclusion, right? And then her works cited, which should be double spaced, but that's okay. So this was her kind of structure. There's been so many different settings, so whatever you can come up with. You know, I've read one where 3 moms meet in a coffee shop to discuss their children going off to college, right? There's so many different settings that you can come up with. You can have a debate moderator, you can have them, you know, be at a conference, whatever you think is best. I've had one student write about they were actually having a debate in a classroom, so the teacher was kind of the moderator. Whatever you decide is totally fine with me. The sky's the limit with your creativity. And that's why I'm offering the 20 extra credit points, right? Challenge yourself here. I'm open to anything that you guys can come up with. And that is essentially option 2 there. That was the last sample. So just to kind of summarize really quickly here, you have your prompt. There's 2 options. If you choose option 1, this is your outline, and these 2 are your samples. If you choose option 2, this is your outline, and then your dialogue samples are your sample essays. Okay. Now there is a library research demo video right here. You just have to click on it here, and it'll open a little bit larger. This is from the library. They put on their own video. Okay. Then there's an embedding quotations and more document. I know some of you are struggling with integrating your quotes smoothly into your sentences, so this document will help you to do that. So take a look there. And then there's the works cited page. Now I've given you all the citations for our textbook texts, so you will just simply have to copy and paste anything that you find on the library. You can copy and paste the citation from the website, and the video will show you how to do that. But I've given you the textbook ones, okay? And then you have your discussion board and your quiz for the week, which is really the only 2 things you have to do this week. Okay, everything else is reviewing for Essay 4, but these 2 things here, the discussion board and the quiz, are your assignments for the week. Please start all the Unit 4 discussion boards very early. They are lengthy, okay? There's a lot of readings involved, and although some of them are only a couple pages each, there's a lot to be said about them. So the discussion boards will ask you to answer some reading questions and help you start thinking for Essay 4. And as usual, anything you use in the discussion board can end up in your paper, so don't be afraid to double dip on that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me.